Coming up on this episode of How Do They Do It? How do they perform jaw-dropping aerial stunts at supersonic speeds without crashing? How do you keep a ski slope covered in snow in the middle of one of the world's hottest deserts? And how do they turn fresh fish into the finest sushi to satisfy some of the world's fussiest eaters? We show you how on How Do They Do It? High speed, low altitude, crazy stunts, and even crazier noises. Bizarrely, these strange droning sounds are the key to these fighter jets flying just 17 inches apart at speeds of up to 680 miles per hour without colliding. So, how do they do it? "9 a.m., El Centro Naval Air Station, California. This is the winter home of the Blue Angels, the U.S. Navy's elite aerobatic display team. These are the best of the best. 6 of the world's top pilots are about to put a $30 million FA-18 Hornet fighter jet through maneuvers that would rip the wings off of any ordinary plane. However, these are no ordinary aircrafts. The lightweight paint job reduces drag, and every possible measure has been taken to keep these aircraft streamlined.
If you look on the wings, you'll see there's no external tanks, no external pylons.
Even the fuel pump is modified to keep supplying gas while flying upside down for prolonged periods.
Power set.
However, the most crucial modification is inside the cockpit. The highly sensitive controls of a combat fighter jet can flip it around in an instant. But when planes are flying just 1.5 feet apart, that sensitivity could be fatal. So the Blue Angels installed a tension spring that attaches to the FA-18's control column to keep it steady. Lieutenant Mark Swinger explains.
It's simply a bolt-on spring that the engineers designed that has about 40 pounds of forward pressure. I have some maneuvers in the diamond formation where I will literally, with that 40 pounds of forward pressure, move my fingers with the stick, and the airplane moves how I need it to move.
The extra pressure from the spring stops any tiny twitches from turning into dangerous maneuvers. The tight turns of aerobatic flying cause problems for the planes, but they also put enormous strain on the pilots. If the plane climbs or turns suddenly, the G-force can quickly force blood from the head down to the feet, causing the pilot to black out. To counter this, most fighter pilots wear special suits, called G-suits, that actually inflate around them, restricting the flow of blood and keeping them conscious. The trouble is, inflatable clothing also affects movement. And if you're performing super fast twists and turns in tight formation, that could be deadly.
If we had a G-suit inflating and deflating while we pull G, my arm would be doing this, and I wouldn't be able to fly the 2 feet to 18 inches we fly from each other during the air show. So that's the reason for not wearing G-suits.
So aerobatic pilots have come up with a different solution. It's a controlled breathing technique that helps to maintain the oxygen supply to his brain during high G maneuvers.
At about that frequency, and we practice it a lot.
The next problem is navigation. When you're flying a jet, you need to know where you're going. But when you're twisting and turning around at 680 miles per hour, you can't just steady the controls and take out a map. Team leader Commander Greg McWhirter is in charge of directing the planes. To keep them on course, before every routine, Greg and his team fly the area to find reference points visible from the air that will act as a cue for maneuvers or turns.
Quarter left turn for the line of rest loop.
You use whatever stands out. If it's a mountain, if it's a water tower, if it's, if it's a no kidding, a field that looks greener than all the other fields, if it stands out to you and it's something that you can, in a moment's notice, at 200 feet, at 500 knots, look out and say, that's it, I got it, then use it.
2 miles.
Then he applies his visual reference points to a photographic map made from satellite images.
And I'll actually then mark up my map so that I have something to study at night, saying, well, at a mile, it wasn't quite this field right here, but there was a definite 90-degree kink in the road that is at exactly a mile. That's a great checkpoint. So once I've got these checkpoints, then I'm ready to go.
A crowd of 40,000 people have gathered, hoping these brave pilots can fly as precisely as they salute.
Rolling 1230.
Updated winds 240 at 6. You're clear to taxi. Pause and hold. Runway.
Clear for takeoff. Have a good one. Thanks, Bo. Clear for takeoff.
This is the first display of the Blue Angels season. It's a new routine, but the team has to get it perfect the first time.
Let's fire it up with Danny Brown. Let's run them up.
In this show, the smallest mistake can lead to disaster. Once the pilots are in the air, Greg's plane takes the lead. Whatever he does, the rest of the team must duplicate. The problem is how to react quick enough. Unfortunately, they can't afford to wait to follow Greg, so they need to anticipate his every move, which means they need to know what he's thinking.
You're flying as close as we fly. They can't wait to see my jet move before they move. They have to move when they know I'm going to maneuver.
To help the pilots anticipate his maneuvers, Greg calls out his moves. He describes everything he's about to do, but in a really unique way.
Ready now. Easing power. Easing more power. Stand by the boards. Boards.
No, it's not the G-force making him talk funny. The team knows that the speed and tone of Greg's voice reflects the timing and duration of his next maneuver. When he turns slow, he talks slow. Quick rolls demand fast talking.
Ready. Hit it.
Timing is everything. For the team's most exciting maneuvers, like the fleur-de-lis, they have to split up.
Ready, break.
The problem is, when they're separated from Greg, the other pilots have to handle their own navigation. When you're flying like this, a GPS device simply won't do the trick. So instead, the pilots depend on something less high-tech, but a lot more reliable, and the solution fits in the palm of your hand. Reflected sunlight from this pocket-sized mirror gives pilots a constant reference point so they can instantly work out their position.
310, we're in a left turn for the line of rest loop.
Lieutenant Manuel Sanchez is in charge of looking after the planes.
With the sun angle, you can actually flash it at the jets, and no kidding, the pilots say that it's like a big, giant diamond just gleaming on the ground.
It's the simplest and most effective way for the ground team to guide the pilots home.
Hit it. Hit it, Cliff. No more pull.
It's been another flawless display, and the crowd at El Centro certainly appreciates the results of all that hard work. For the Blue Angels, it's just the beginning of a grueling season of 36 shows. For the next 6 months, the dedicated men and women of this team will travel across America in Fat Albert, the C-130 Hercules transport plane that acts as the team bus. It's a job well done at El Centro. Next stop, Florida. Still to come, how do they keep a winter wonderland ice cold in the heat of the Arabian desert? Join us after the break to find out how on How Do They Do It? It's 8 a.m. in the Arabian desert. Temperatures here can reach 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot enough to fry an egg on the hood of your car. The perfect place for a ski slope. To keep it ice cold in the desert heat, they need to develop one of the most sophisticated refrigeration systems ever built. So, how do they do it? This is Ski Dubai, the largest and most improbable indoor ski resort ever built. With 5 runs up to 1,300 feet long and drops the height of a 20-story building, it takes over 6,600 tons of snow to keep them running. Welcome to the world's biggest refrigerator. In a country where the average annual snowfall is 0 inches, there is no point crossing your fingers and hoping for winter weather. So every night, they make their own with some amazing engineering and ingenious chemistry. It starts with the snow guns mounted on the roof. The 27 guns spray a fine mist of water into the air, then pepper it with tiny particles of ice so small they're invisible to the naked eye. The ice acts as a magnet for the tiny droplets of water, which come together to form perfect snow crystals. Operations Chief Luca Marchon has just arrived from the French Alps, and he thinks the snow here is even better.
Outdoor, the elements keeps on changing, the humidity, the temperature, the wind. Here we control all of that, so we can do such good snow.
This incredible system is capable of laying down 33 tons of fresh powder every night. On a mountain ski resort, wind and gravity ensure an even spread of the snow. Indoors, however, they have to take matters into their own hands. So every morning, a snowcat rakes the snow smooth to provide a perfect, even skiing surface. On the steepest sections of the slope, the snow is layered over concrete steps to prevent any risk of the world's first indoor avalanche. Once the slopes are clear and smooth, test holes are drilled to check the depth of the snow. With an even covering of 20 inches verified, the winter resort is open for business. As the day begins, the skiers hit the slopes, and the slopes hit the skiers. Hundreds of bodies working hard really heats things up. Unless they keep the place ice cold, the perfect snow is going to turn into the perfect slush. The ski slopes are kept cool the same way as the food inside your fridge. The ingenious, intricate process starts deep in the basement. This sprawling labyrinth of steel pipes feeds a 60-mile-long cooling system buried under the snow. The stuff inside the pipes is the product of some amazing chemical engineering. Highly toxic ammonia gas is electrically cooled to minus 29 degrees Fahrenheit, at which point it becomes a liquid. The liquid ammonia is pumped to a heat exchanger, where it brings a solution of ethylene glycol down to around minus 4 degrees. The glycol is then pumped through pipes which were laid beneath the floor of the slope when the structure was being built. As the snow gets colder, the glycol warms up to about 3 degrees. Next, it's pumped to the roof, where the air is sucked through these giant icicle-covered fans and chilled to 17 degrees. Finally, the glycol is sent to cool the water used in the snowmaking machines. But this ingenious refrigeration process is just part of the story. Here in the Arabian desert, the toughest challenge is to stop the searing heat outside from getting in. The first line of defense is the roof. Over 215,000 square feet of heat-reflecting sheet aluminum. Hidden underneath the metal, there's a 6-inch layer of foam rubber insulation. And under the insulation, there's a 16-foot thick barrier of the most effective insulator known to man. It's trapped air. Trapped air is very difficult for heat or cold to pass through. It's trapped air that makes duvets and down jackets work. and it's trapped air that keeps Ski Dubai from becoming Swim Dubai. The insulation is so effective, even if the refrigeration failed, it would be 3 days before the snow started to melt. With facilities like this, Dubai is bound to become a worldwide destination for winter sports. But we might have to wait a while for the United Arab Emirates' first Winter Olympic team. Still to come, how is uncooked fish turned into a sushi feast for the most finicky customers at an exclusive New York restaurant? Join us after the break to find out how on How Do They Do It? New York, a big city with big appetites and some of the most critical eaters on earth. Raw fish is all the rage, but this is New York, and if a restaurant wants to make its mark, it needs to have the finest, freshest, and tastiest ingredients in the world. So, how do they do it? 6 a.m., the Long Island coast. This boat looks like it could be a pleasure cruiser. But in fact, it's a serious fishing boat on the hunt for high-grade sushi. With health-conscious eaters all over the world chowing through more and more sushi every day, you might think the fish was caught by the ton. But veteran sushi fisherman like Mike Jacobs claims the best quality sushi fish cannot be caught in nets. Instead, Mike and his crew use $500 state-of-the-art carbon fiber rods and reels to catch every fish one by one.
Gentle, don't hit the side of the boat, nothing. No marks.
Nice fish.
No marks. All right, beautiful.
With normal fishing, the catch thrash about in the net, damaging the skin and flesh. And when they die, the blood is left inside, affecting the delicate taste of the fish. Mike uses the Japanese ikijimi method to make what he calls a fresh kill, a single incision to the hind brain that kills the fish but doesn't immediately stop the heart from pumping. He then makes another incision in the tail to let the blood drain out.
All this is the blood coming out of the fish. Now, from any fine sushi restaurant, they don't want their customers eating this.
A trawler crew landing over 2 tons of fish in a single catch couldn't possibly bleed them like this. This level of care is only possible when fish are caught and fresh killed individually. And that's why sushi fish like this cost thousands of dollars each.
We don't do one thing 100% better than anybody else, but we do 100 things 1% better. That's the key to true quality.
But sushi fishermen like Mike don't sell direct to restaurants. These high-priced fish are destined for a giant fish market in the Big Apple. This is no family fishmonger. The new Fulton Fish Market covers nearly 400,000 square feet of the Bronx.
Hey, how are you, sir?
Known as the New York Stock Exchange of Seafood, it's the oldest fish market in the USA. 5% of America's fish comes through this building, and annual sales exceed $1 billion. From minnows to mackerel, they sell 300 varieties of fish from as far away as Japan, Alaska, and Greece. This is a specialist market. The customers are connoisseurs. Nobu Ishida buys for many of New York's top sushi restaurants. And when it comes to fish, there is no one with a better eye than Nobu.
Not good.
Let me tell you, look at our tail.
Yeah. Oh, tunas?
A single southern bluefin tuna can fetch as much as $40,000. And for $40,000, it had better be good. Having bought Mike's fish for an undisclosed sum, Mr. Ishida takes it to New York's East Side District and the legendary restaurant Sushi Yasuda, home of a sushi master, Naomichi Yasuda. Yasuda prepares some of the best sushi in town. First challenge is to turn whole, fresh fish into perfectly proportioned pieces the size of a single mouthful. But this is no problem for these disciples of the blade. Yasuda's team are masters of sushi preparation. They make quick work of the heads, tails, skin, and scales. You probably think that sushi fish has got to be really fresh and prepared immediately, but that's where you'd be wrong. According to Master Yasuda, much of the fish we eat as sushi sits for days before it is ready to be served.
This one is already 3 days old.
This is meant to relax the flesh and make it more tender.
Also, this is 3 days old.
Tuna doesn't reach its peak until 4 days after capture. And Yasuda is an expert at knowing when fish is just right. When you're paying $4 per mouthful of raw fish, you'd hope it wasn't something they just dragged out of the freezer. But actually, much of the fish we eat as sushi has to be frozen first to kill off any dangerous parasites. The problem is, fish doesn't retain color and flavor for long in an ordinary freezer. Yasuda's freezer is anything but ordinary. It runs at minus 106 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 70 degrees colder than your freezer at home. At this temperature, the fish doesn't deteriorate at all. When it's thawed, it will be as fresh as the moment it went in.
It doesn't change the color, the same quality.
With a preservation life of 3 years, Mr. Yasuda can ensure that whatever the season, New Yorkers get the best and the safest sushi. And when it comes to the master's creations, New Yorkers can't get enough. To find out more about how do they do it, go to sciencechannel.com/howdothayddoit.